And welcome out, everybody, to a special edition of Hogville.net YouTube Live. This is the Fayetteville Regional Show special. And I got Otis Kirk and Dudley Dawson here with me this afternoon. And y'all, welcome on.
Good to be here. I'm rocking the Harry Carey glasses, Harry Carey readers today.
Those are looking good, I'm telling you. Yeah, Razorbacks, they used really three good innings to put Santa Clara Broncos away yesterday. And it was kind of an eventful, last half of the game for the Razorbacks.
Yeah, I think it was obviously seemed to be until Peyton Hope made his great play. Everybody seemed to be kind of on the edge with Santa Clara coming right out of the bat. First four hitters had 2 runs and another runner on. Hunter Holland got out of that some way, but he just didn't have it yesterday. And Coach Van Horn made the decision to get him out of there pretty quickly. And it turned out to be a pretty good one. Will McIntyre came in and did a great job. Cody Adcock got the last 5 outs. And I think as Otis's Bulldog is saying, it was a good move by DBH.
Yeah, my dogs do not like thunder. I will just warn you up front. They will give us some additional music to the show. Yeah, I mean, way those first 4 hitters, well, really the first one flied out to left field, but I believe it's left or right field, but he flied out. But after that, those next 3 hitters, it looked like, man, Santa Clara looked like some softball teams I played against. I mean, they were pounding the ball, and you think, God. And they were getting all of it. But fortunately, Hunter settled down a little bit, but still didn't, as Dudley said, didn't have his best stuff. But and then they came back to earth, but their pitchers really struggled. Once they took the guy out that had the no-hitter going, which I'm not questioning taking him out. He had obviously was walking a lot of people and stuff, and he was getting ready to get hit. But man, they had 10 walks they gifted to Arkansas. A lot of people don't understand Santa Clara out hit Arkansas 13-10 yesterday, but those 10 walks, I mean, that's just a lot of free passes. And it was good to see Josenberger and some of those guys hit the ball better than they had been. And Peyton Hope, Dudley's covered it. Well, I've covered it all year too, but Dudley's been the baseball guy. And Peyton Hope, man, he's just coming on. Dudley, Jason, this reminds me of Drew Morgan, another kid from Greenwood. Remember him? He was sitting on the bench in 2015, wasn't getting to play. Keon Hatcher, some receivers got hurt. Drew gets in there, never got out after that,
Yeah.
You don't know what you've got till you get in there and give them a chance to play, and some kids take advantage of it. You got to stay ready. And, man, Peyton Hope, Stovall's a great player, but an injured Peyton Stovall was not doing what a healthy Peyton Hope. Hope's just, man, he's made a difference in this team.
Yeah, I think there'll be 2 Peytons in the lineup next year. Stovall may be playing second base, but Hope's going to be playing somewhere else. He's just a dude. Just a baseball guy, just a dude, makes plays, seems to fire up his teammates. And it's one of those things you never, like Otis was mentioning, you never know really what you've got in a player until he gets the experience and has the time. Other coaches are raving about him now, and I still think it's funny that when he made the play in Vanderbilt, they were interviewing Dave Van Horn. He said, "That's my backup. That's my backup making plays like that." He's no longer a backup. He'll be a future starter, and he's a current starter. He'll be a future starter, is Dave Van Horn.
Yeah, you've got to find a place for him. He's just and it'd be easy to say, well, Kendall Diggs is going to outfield and you can put Hope DH, but really he's too good a hitter too good a fielder to not be in the field somewhere too. So, but he's going to give you options, but you've got to find a place for him. And as you said, Stovall, we know what a player he is. The kid's been hurt all year. It's not fair to judge him off that. He still didn't have a bad season, but how big would it be to have? I know this is what if and ifs and ifs and ifs, but how big would it be to have Dylan Carter and Cody Frank right now, man? Boy, Dylan Carter, that's the injury. And Dave really overcame a lot of injuries this year. Coach of the year, and it was very deserving. But man, that Carter injury looms big, because if you'd have had him yesterday, you probably would have put him in instead of Will. Then you still have Will, available, maybe even start if you need in game 4 if he goes to that. So, but I mean, you play what you've got, and everybody's got injuries. I've just always said that all injuries are not the same. But we've talked about all these injuries all year and written about them and stuff. But Dylan Carter is one that still I think is really going to haunt them, maybe more than any of the others. And they've all been bad, and hurt, but that's a big one.
Definitely most improved player, Dylan Carter. I think we can tab him with that from where they started the season. This TCU Arkansas game was, I was at the first one down there in Arlington, Texas, at Global Stadium, 4-4 going into the 5th, and then Arkansas brought in some youngsters making their college debuts, and a lot of them didn't fare well, and that's how TCU got out. So I don't really put much validity in that. As Coach Kirk Sarloos said last night, the former Oakland A's reliever, both teams are different. Should be fun tonight. I did notice while I was at the ball game last night that the ball was flying a lot better at night than it did during the daytime. Now, Arizona and TCU both have really good hitters, but I did think it was jumping a little bit. So at 8 o'clock tonight, especially with the cool weather, we might see a ton go out. I do think that if you look at the metrics, throwing a left-hander against them, and that's probably why he's starting Hagen Smith in this spot, will probably be helpful, because they were just killing the right-hander last night from Arizona.
Yeah, and you got Morris if you need him to come in after Hagen gets his injury. I mean, gets his innings pitched, his pitch count up. You've still got Zach Morris available, another left-hander, and I'm sure Dave had that in mind. Yeah, I mean, just like TCU beat them 18-6, but they're not going. Arkansas wouldn't beat Oklahoma State 18-1 today either. So all that stuff that was then. This is now. It's completely different situations.
So last night, Hunter Holland went 2 1/3 innings, struck out 2, walked 2, and gave up 2 runs off 3 hits. His pitch counts, it did go down. He had 24 pitches in the first inning, 18 in the second, and then 7 before he got pulled. Do you think Dave might have been kind of planning for just in case if there is that 4th game that he would be available?
I think that was in the back of his mind, but I think mostly, in his statements after the game last night, he just didn't feel like it was a good matchup. His velo was down, maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour. He threw 49 pitches, only I think 26 of that were strikes. McIntyre came in and put the ball in the zone. Was a different pitcher for Santa Clara to face, and kind of got things rolling for Arkansas there in terms of just keeping them within a run or two. And then, as it was mentioned last night, we're talking about starters for the next few games. He had Brady Taggart warming up in the bullpen, had him ready to come in if needed. But when Arkansas had the 5-run outburst that was benefited by 3 bases loaded walks, they were able to keep him at bay. If you can keep him out of the game tonight, then you'll start him tomorrow. But I know that as Dave Van Horn's made it very clear, they will go for the win in this game too. Such a huge game, because if you win game 2, you only got to win 1 the rest of the way. If you lose it, you got to win 3 games.
Yep. Game 2 is all in a tournament like 14 tournaments, always the biggest one. I mean, it's just you could play 1 more game. If you get in the losers bracket tonight, then you could play 3 more. You have to play 3 more to win it, and you've got to win them all. There's no. Whereas if you win tonight, you could lose 1 tomorrow and then come back Monday and maybe win it. But yeah, you lose tonight, you've got your backs against the wall. And I don't, honestly, Dudley more on this than I am, but I'm just my opinion, and that's all it is I don't know if Arkansas got in the losers bracket tonight. I don't know if they've got the pitching numbers. This goes back to where Carter, Frank, and some of those guys, Wiggins, but I just don't know if they've got the pitching to go 3 games. I'm sure Dave could do it 2 more games, but I don't know. I think it'd be taxing them pretty hard.
They have the pitching numbers. They don't have the pitching depth. They have some freshmen who struggled, away from home. Maybe they Gage Wood, Parker Cole, Ben Bobby, some of those guys are able to do what they can, but it's as one of those situations to where I think you're much better served if you get through this game. And that's why they'll go Johnny Holstaff tonight if they need to. And certainly, if you use Brent Tiger tonight to finish this game off, then you can bring Adcock back. The guys that I just mentioned, Zach Morris, you use Zach tonight instead of Brady. Brady starts tomorrow. But you can fill some innings. You just got to do whatever you can to get this game because you only want to have to win one more after this instead of 3.
It really is important for Arkansas also for the offense to really get going in this second game because, I was looking at some of the numbers with TCU over their last 5 games, and it's a little daunting. I'm not going to lie. Over the last 5 games, they're averaging 12 runs, 16 hits. And this is the stat that really kind of stuck out to me, too, and their efficiency at the plate. They've only left 6 runners on base total over the last 5 games. So if they get on base, they're more than likely they're getting home.
Yeah, I think I think Hagen Smith, though, I don't know if they faced the Hagen Smith. I'm sure they faced good pitchers. I saw a little bit of their game against Oklahoma State. What was that, Sunday when they won the Big 12 tournament, I believe? Whatever day that was, I watched a little bit of that, but I don't know if they faced the Hagen Smith. That kid, if he's on, if he's feeling it, he's tough to hit, man. I think he can keep them a little bit at bay. We'll see. But yeah, they're a good team. But Arkansas had 10 hits yesterday. I felt better about the offense yesterday than I did when they were in Hoover, and you had that whole outfield was not hitting at Hoover. Now, Tavian come up and got 2 hits there at the end of the tournament down there in Hoover, but he and Wagner and Orphan just weren't hitting down there. I felt better about the hitting yesterday. I got 10 hits, and they might have gotten more. You never know. But they're up there taking. When you get 10 walks, that takes away some of your hits, because if you get 10 free passes, you got to take them, man.
Yeah, and really, really late last night, after the Arizona and TCU game was over with, Kirk Saarloos talked about how he recruited Hagen Smith, how he likes the way he has command with his fastball, how he likes his attitude, that he has an attitude, but it's a good attitude, and that he, will get out there, show some emotion, and, yell at the other team if you need to. I think Saarloos, he was that type of pitcher himself when he was with the Oakland A's, likes that. They know what they're facing. Braden Taylor is, a guy who was 4 or 5 last night, 6 RBIs, his home run in the first inning. Erased. It was a 3-run home run. It erased the early lead that Arizona had. That's a really good hitting club that had 17 hits yesterday or last night, and it's going to be a war. And I think that. As I keep quoting Kirk Saarloos, but I think he made a good point last night. He said, really, you've got really good offensive teams in this. It's going to be about which team can get the other team out enough.
Yeah. One good thing about TCU's hitting, though, is if they hit Hagen and they don't base it, they just hit him and he doesn't strike out so many, that keeps his pitch count down a little bit, because one reason his pitch count gets so high is because he strikes out so many. So if they're hitting, but they're not getting base hits, that might be a little bit of an advantage for Arkansas there. I know that's stretching a little bit, but I think there's a point to that. Might get by him an extra inning or 2.
Yeah, and we keep talking about tonight. Hopefully the game is played. Still waiting for the first pitch of the day as they continue to wait out the weather delay and all that as we record this. But I think that both teams wouldn't mind it if their pitchers got an extra day's rest. But I just hope that if they are able to play it, they're able to play it continuously and not have a stop and go. Because I remember being one night at Baum-Barker Stadium, man, don't get me wrong, love the place. It's, cozy and all that. But 3 a.m. was a little late that one night.
Oof. Yeah, that was a tough game. And I think that one of the biggest matchups that I think as a fan you would look at is Hagen Smith versus the TCU part of the lineup 2 through 5. Last night, they had 12 of the 17 teams hits. scored 6 runs, only left three runners on base. And if Hagan can get through that meat part of the order, I think he will be pretty successful in seeing him go longer than maybe a 4 or 5 innings. And what was also encouraging too is that the Razorbacks got all batters 1 through 9 on base yesterday. I know that Brady Slavens was 0 for 4, but he also drew a walk. And so you have consistently from that order, top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I just think, that I just thought the bats were better yesterday. And I know they had 10 hits, as I said, to 13% of Clara. But then again, when you're getting 10 walks, some of those guys probably would have been hits, So so I don't know. But I just felt better about the offense. Dudley's, like I said, has followed it real close. He knows more than I do. But it just observing, I just felt like down at Hoover, they were scraping for runs and hits. And I just felt like yesterday, the offense was clicking better yesterday than I'd seen it in a while. I mean, it just seemed like once Vanderbilt came back in game 2 over in Nashville when Dudley was there, and then game 3, and then the 3 games in Hoover, which they won 2. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad. They won 2 in Hoover, but they went 2-1. That's always good. But just felt like the offense looked better yesterday. We'll see. I mean, I good to see Josenberger hitting the ball again, though, because, I mean, he's at the top of the order. You can move Wagner and Borfin around, but you really need Tavian up there. I mean, that's your guy that you want at the top of the order. I mean, he's the guy that is a true leadoff hitter, I think, and it's good to get him going. If Wagner and Borfin can get going, you can slot them around, but more than they were. I mean, both of them got some hits yesterday, but Tavian up top.
Let's also give some love to the 8-9 hitters. Parker Rowland, who's hitting 173. I think John Bolton, who is around 211, 212. They were able to get a couple of those rallies going yesterday, hitting the ball really well. And when you mentioned Tavion, when he's got people on base, he usually comes through, or at least has for the majority of the season. Had some trouble down there at Vanderbilt, and do have a couple of time updates. The latest that the Arkansas game can start tonight is 11 p.m.
Cool.
So
they said the latest an Arkansas game can start at 11.
Start tonight is 11 p.m. So if this current game that we're in another rain delay, not the first one that pushed it back before, now another rain delay that has got to push back. If they are not able to start the first game, by 8, then you're looking at 3 games tomorrow. So we're going to see how that plays itself out. I myself, again, and I think most coaches, all the coaches would agree, instead of being at the ballpark all night, like if there's a situation that it continues to rain, just bump it a day, bump a game, 2 games a day, whatever you got to do, because that's just not fair to the kids and also not fair to the fans who are paying a decent amount of money to come to this.
Good chunk.
Especially if they didn't get tickets through the university.
Yeah, and you just don't want to see the main thing is when this game starts with Arizona and Santa Clara, you don't want to see another delay. That's what, and of course you don't want to see that with Arkansas, but that's what you hate is when the game starts, you see the delays. One thing, if it starts late, but it's played and it's played continuously, I tell you what, I didn't talk to Dudley about this yesterday or you, Jason, but I don't like they took the run rule away. I felt like I think
I saw your tweet about that.
Yeah, I asked because Arkansas was right there on the verge of it, and then they said there's no run rule. Arkansas could have, and I'm not saying this because they used Cody Adcock. I'm just saying I don't know, man. To me, 10-run rule, you're up 10. They kept it in softball. It's the softball regionals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They kept the run rule in effect, 8 runs. I just wish they'd have kept the 10 run. I just think it's like tonight, if you've got Arizona in their head of Santa Clara or vice versa, but if they're up by 11 or 12 in the 7th inning and you have to play 2 more innings and then you don't get to that 11 o'clock, I don't know. I just feel like teams are not going to come back most of the time from 10 down. I know they have,
Well, ostensibly, I agree with you on that. I do think that Ryder in Coastal Carolina might have differing viewpoints. It was 10-1, I think, last night, and Ryder got 9 runs in the 7th inning. That's going to happen every once in a while, but not that much at all. I do think, especially when you are in a situation where you have rain delays, if you can get 7 innings in, then I think that should be enough. People could argue that baseball's a 9-inning game. Well, it is, unless there's rain. I mean, we all know that in Major League Baseball, you get 4.5 innings in, you're done.
Well, there's exceptions to everything, but I think overall I like the 10-run rule after 7. I just like that. I think every example when, and I covered a game, I think it probably 98, because I moved up here in 97. It's either 98 or 99. I think it was snowing and ice and stuff over there, and Norm wouldn't stop the game. And so I believe they were playing South Carolina. I believe that's who it was. I may be lying on the opponent, but and Arkansas was way down, and they sent that team out in the field. There's ice out there on the field, and they can't move. Arkansas was scoring like 20 and 30 runs, man, because if you didn't hit it right at somebody, they weren't going to get it, And it was funny because it was like a skating, it's more like hockey, I mean, they're out there skating around. So there's exceptions to everything, and I witnessed that. I mean, Arkansas was getting killed, but then they came in because they were in the field when it started, it was bad, but then it got worse, and Arkansas got to bad, and the poor team in the field had no chance, man. I mean, all Arkansas had to do is just not hit it right at them, and they were on. It was on now. You just hope somebody can get killed out there running the bases and break a leg or something.
Yeah, so speaking of run rules, I think that John Rimley brought up just a great point just a second ago. Dallas Baptist is up on Oklahoma State in the bottom of the 7th inning, 18-1 right now. 18-1. After they got smacked around by ORU last night, they're getting smacked around again. I picked ORU to come out of that regional. I knew that they were a fairly tough team. Dudley, you and I talked a little bit briefly about it, I do believe, yesterday. But, Oklahoma State and how they have kind of, I wouldn't say rolled over, but they just got caught at a bad time. That's a little surprising.
Well, Captain Jack Sparrow, otherwise known as Rock Riggio, has had a good year. I checked in on him before they started that thing. He's hitting 335, so he's had another good year. Been batting second for him, but they floundered at times. I'm not saying they floundered all year because they still got an 11th seed and they got a home regional. But I'm sure that, just like if let's say UCA or Arkansas State, somebody would have been sent up here, ORU, when they play against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, it's a Super Bowl. And, they went with their best pitchers, had a lot of energy and had some things go, right for them during that game and then shut it down. And now it's human nature. It shouldn't be, but it's human nature that Oklahoma State's sitting there thinking, now we've got to win so many games. This sucks and all this. And Dallas Baptist, who's a really good club, they lost yesterday, but they're a really good club, have been, they're listed as a mid-major, but have been, one of the better clubs and one of the more elite clubs across the country, came out and as you said, is taking it to them today, jumped on them early, much like Auburn. Auburn was the only team in the SEC that lost, out of the 10 that lost their game, and they're getting hammered today, and probably going to be out pretty quickly. And I hate that for Butch Thompson, who's Auburn's coach, good guy, has really done, I think, wonders with that team today. There were a lot of people saying, including my buddy here, saying that Auburn shouldn't have been hosted. That there are other ones that, but now this performance, it looks like it's going to validate that. Your thought on it.
Yeah, I said all along TCU should have hosted instead of Auburn, or not necessarily TCU, but somebody else. I just didn't think Auburn deserved that. I'm not sure Indiana State did, but I'll leave that to committee. I didn't see Indiana State play this year. I know they beat Wright State by 1 run yesterday, but I really thought TCU probably should have gotten that instead of Auburn. But I mean, it's always good to see the SEC, but yeah, they're when you lose that first game, man, and you're the number 1 seed or even the number 2 seed, it just sucks, man. I mean, it stinks.
It does.
It does. I mean, you're just sitting there thinking, because look, man, everybody's had injuries and everybody's got deal. I mean, nobody's just got. It's not like we talk about. Or I've been talking about Arkansas not having enough pitchers to do this and that. But it's not like these other teams who've got 30 pitchers out there lined up in the bullpen to come in and throw 100 miles an hour either. I mean, it gets down to it. These other teams have pitching issues too. I'm sure they've had injuries. I'm sure they're just numbers alone. You've got to have hitters. You just spread your scholarships and numbers around so much. So it's not like all these other teams are lined up with a 40, Garrett Coles or something, I mean, they got issues too.
TCU had at one point was 2023. They looked really good early in the season. Then they had some injuries to the pitching staff, both the starters and the relievers. Coach Sarlos talked about that the last night. These are two teams that really had a next man up mentality. That they were able to get some guys to come out of the bullpen. You mentioned Dylan Carter for Arkansas. I don't even shudder to think what it would have looked like if he hadn't filled in, during the time when all those guys were hurt. Fortunately for Arkansas, those guys started to come back. I mean, if Dylan got hurt, those guys had started to come back. Now, I like to take great pride in the fact that I'm married to a beautiful woman named Petra. She's also an amateur meteorologist, and as it is pouring at our house here right now, and it is pouring at Baum Stadium, and that is at 4:30, I guess it is. She says there's going to be pop-ups all night, so are we even going to get one game in today? And she follows that radar much better than I do. She knows what the colors mean. It just looks shiny to me. I do think that both coaches would be okay with having an extra day, but we're going to see. Let's just not debut it at 3 a.m. Did I say that already? What's your tries?
Maybe.
I went over there and it was raining. It wasn't even raining here at Towson. It's not raining here right now. But I went over to U of A as soon as I got a little bit before I got there. It just started pouring and lightning and stuff. But somebody I was sitting with said it was going to move out at 4 o'clock. But then one of the workers there said, no, there's going to be another front move in at 4. So and it didn't move out at 4, I guess. So, but it's not even raining at my house. So I guess mine's a bad gauge for all this stuff. Because like I said, I packed it up, went over there thinking, now I'll go watch the game. It was dark, but it wasn't even raining here or anything. And I went over there going to try to catch a little bit of that game. And I came back home.
I'm telling you, it's coming down now. There are a couple guys out in my yard. It looks like they're starting to build an ark. So,
not even raining.
Yeah, up here in Rogers, it's not doing anything. But really, honestly, what it really matters is what it's doing in Baum and that 10. Is it a 10-mile radius or is it a 5-mile radius?
8-mile radius on the Lightning.
8 mile on the Lightning. So I think that's also one of the big things you got to look out for too, because I mean, every time that there's another strike of lightning, that's another 45 minutes that they've got to kick back and say, nope, we can't do this.
I was told when I was over there too, I don't know if you guys have talked about this or not, but I was told it's a mandatory minimum 55-minute wait between games before they can start another game. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes it's 30 in softball or something. I've heard 30, or maybe in Arkansas when they played double headers a day, but it was mandatory minimum 55 minutes. So that's another thing to look at when you're talking about 11 o'clock. So that means 10:05. I mean, if that game ended at 10:05, they're not, with a minimum 55-minute wait, that's minimum. Mm-hmm. You're not going to start at 11. So, I mean, that's something else to think about.
Any little bit of lightning. Any little bit of lightning, even if you can't see it, even if it's in the area, and I know the fans get upset a lot, but if it's within that 8-mile radius, then from 30 minutes from the last
30
lightning strikes, you have to just move the clock back. And if it comes, if 20 minutes into that 30 minutes, there's another lightning strike, it's got to go another 30 minutes. So there are a lot of rules that play into this as well. And I know the fans get upset at times, and I get that. But really, this is for the safety of the players and the safety of the fans. That's why they make them leave the hog pen. That's why they make them go under the quarter. That's why they make them get out of the stadium. They weren't even going to let them in until 3:30 today, because they knew the weather was coming.
Well, you don't.
So no, I do have one more. I got one more question really quick. Sorry, Otis. Is that if they do play that doubleheader, are they playing 9 innings or are they playing 7?
Got to play 9. That's my understanding. Yeah, each game in the NCAA tournament has to go 9 innings, is my understanding when you're in the championship thing.
That's what I was told yesterday. There is no run rule, and they're not going to shorten it because of rain or whatever. They're going to play 9 innings. So that's what I'm saying tonight. I mean, even if they start this Arizona and Santa Clara game and then there's delays, and then with a minimum of 55 minutes, I mean, we're looking at 4:30 basically right now. And so, I mean, it's going to be tough, guys. And it's fine by me. I'm like Dudley, and I'm sure probably like the coaches over there. It's fine by me, especially if there's going to be more coming in where you're going to start and you're going to stop. And that kills your pitcher too. You put Hagen Smith out there and he pitches 2 innings and then it's, an hour delay. You burn him. I don't know. I don't like that scenario at all. And it'd be the same thing if it's TCU. We just talked about Arkansas. I don't know that much about TCU. Dudley knows more about them than I do, but I just know that when I'm talking about Arkansas, because that's who I cover, but I don't know. I just hate to see them delay once they start. If they can play, it starts at 10:45 and they can play it through, that's one thing. But if it's going to be delays all night, no.
Yeah, I would say that TCU's in pretty much the same situation as Arkansas is. They've had injuries to that staff. They've got some guys that have been really good for them that have been eating up innings. They've got some youngsters on the staff. They used 3 pitchers last night. 2 of them went 4 innings. Cole Kleckler was their starter. They had, another guy finish it up. So both teams used 3 pitchers yesterday. Both teams came back from 2-0 down before they even got a bat in their hands. The Arizona has a couple of guys in Chase White and Kiko, and it's not Hadar, but Kiko that hit blasted a home run out there. I thought they were really going to compete early on, but then TCU came back with a bunch of runs, 12 unanswered runs, to get to where they were at. So, these are 4 really good teams. As it has been pointed out many times, this is a tough regional. But it's a lot easier, again, whenever they play this winner's bracket game, if you win it. And you take into the rain, you take it into weather, you take in starting and stopping. And I know that the NCAA will do the right thing.
Most definitely.
It's a tough regional, but I do think they called a break on the super regional. I really do, and maybe I'll eat my words next weekend if Arkansas gets there. But I do think they called a break on the super regional. Not so much on the regional, but I do think opposite of the Indiana State regional is setting pretty good for Arkansas. I mean, be it Iowa, North Carolina, whoever comes out there, or Indiana State. But I think Arkansas may have called a break there. But I mean, they got to get there. They got to get there out of this weekend before they can worry about next weekend.
Wright State was a trendy pick to come out of there. They lost earlier today, so they're out. North Carolina, which has not been a great team this year. They lost 8 guys that played, 8 starters that started in the super regional down in North Carolina next year. And I know we're all pleased that these games are at home instead of Oklahoma State and North Carolina and all that. There's nothing like postseason games at Baum Stadium, even if you're in rain delays. But, I think that that's a good regional. Indiana State has been a really good team. But, I mean, just like this situation with Santa Clara yesterday, early on, they were able to handle it. They had energy. But once they started walking guys, things just got out of hand. And you could tell that the other guys that came in, besides their first 2 pitchers, were just not in great situations after having played before 9,000 people combined at home the whole year, playing before 11,000 people yesterday who were yelling ball 5, ball 6, and a ball 12 there at one time. I mean, I don't know that I've seen a lot of bases loaded walk, but I do not think as many ball games as I've seen in almost 60 years that I've seen 2 out bases loaded walks and a hit batter that just that accelerated things. And then Kendall Diggs dropped that one in, and I thought it was funny. All 3 of the guys scored, and Kendall didn't get to second, and Dave Van Horn was told, he was, really? Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about that. You should have been on second.
Yeah, and
he's clutch, man. God, he's clutch.
He is. And Arkansas was having a little bit of struggle with Cole Kitchen yesterday because he's a guy that has a pit. His breaking stuff really tails off hard. That's kind of been one of Arkansas's bugaboos, especially during the SEC tournament. And I was listening to Bubba and Phil yesterday afternoon, and when they brought the relief pitcher in for Cole Kitchen, Tyler Hells, it was just nothing but fastball, and then it was just like, okay, we got fastball, we can go dead red on this guy now, and then after that, it was just over with.
Yeah, kids, if he stays, as Coach Van Horn said yesterday, the kid, if he stays healthy, he's touched 100 miles an hour on his fastball. He was getting 97, 98 yesterday. He's going to be able to play in the major leagues, but playing in the SEC gets you ready for that. There are several kids that can throw 95, and clearly, and again, the walks help, but clearly, as you said, they were able to set dead red. And even though the first hit of the ball game was Jared Wagner swinging really hard and getting a bleeder that got 3 for a base hit, after that they started timing him up and were able to get 5 runs in the 4th, 5 runs in the 6th, and then little think about this: the first of the year, Caleb Cali went 0 of 8 to start the year. 7 of those were strikeouts. The other one was a double play. He is now leading because Peyton Hope hadn't had enough at bats, leading the team in batting average at over 320. That's nuts to me.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Tell me how good Caleb Cali was. I didn't go to fall ball and stuff, and I'm thinking, what are you guys seeing in this guy? Because I didn't go out to fall ball and stuff, and I'm just going by that Arlington deal, and I'm thinking, what are you guys seeing him? John was telling me how good he was, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll take your word for it, but I'm not impressed. But I see now what everybody was talking about. That kid's really come on, and hey, you get off to a bad start, you can get in a slump later. Everybody goes through slumps. There's very few great hitters. I'm sure Stan Musial and Mickey Mantle and all of them have gone through slumps from time to time, but that was.
I got to tell you, I did joke with Bob Hope, because Bob Hope said during a question yesterday, he said he didn't know he'd ever seen 3 people score on base on a single, and I reminded him that's why he's watched Detroit Tigers and American baseball.
He was over today. Bob was. I was talking with he and Mike Irwin were at the table. We were talking, and those 2 were 2 I was sitting and eating with over there, and we were talking about and Bob was. We solved a lot of the world issues over there. That's 3. Yeah. And that's a crew. Me and Mike Irwin and Bob.
I tell you, Bob's question yesterday to Rusty Filter about the experience that his mom has had at the regionals. That was a great story that he came with yesterday.
Yeah, and his mom had a chance. Pat had a chance to come and watch the game, and I did like the fact that he said, she's a Rusty Filter fan first, and aren't we all Rusty Filter fans? I'm not much on clean filters, but Rusty Filter I like.
Yeah.
But she's a Razorback fan next, and I just thought that was kind of a nice little addendum to things. And I tell you what, all 3 head coaches that have been here, obviously Chip Hale, coached with the Oakland A's. Kirk Sarlos talked about him playing, and Rusty Filter. All 3 of those guys have been great at giving quotes, have been great at giving gratitude to Fayetteville and the other 3 teams here. It's a pleasure to have that instead of, and I'm getting this way some, it's a pleasure to have those guys than those sitting around griping about why did we have to come here? We deserve a regional and all that. Man, in Rusty Filter, that's the first thing he's done in all of his press conferences so far is to tell the media, "Thank you for coming here." Well, no, you thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Missouri State coach a few years ago, the older guy that coached Missouri State, man, and came down for a super regional, was cranky, man. I mean, he was crankier than cranky. I mean, he was pretty cranky over there.
Crankier than after a Los Angeles Lakers or Boston Celtic loss that ends the season.
Yeah, even crankier than me, man. That's going to limit. I remember he asked Bob Hope, "Let somebody else ask some questions." Of course, that ain't always a bad thing to advise Bob, because he does get carried away.
I do have one quick note, and it does kind of affect Arkansas a little bit. I just found out that the head coach for Memphis was just interviewed for the Missouri head coaching position, and that if he was offered, he will take it.
Yeah, he is offered. He is a former player, from my understanding, and Desiree Francis, Missouri's AD, I think he's worked for her before, or they've worked together in some aspect. I know that Matt Hobbs is another Missouri player. He'd been mentioned, for that. You wish Matt Hobbs well, but at the same time, I think there are probably a lot of Razorback fans who, if you'll turn down the Yankees, why won't you turn down Missouri? If you got that opportunity.
Exactly. Well, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. And I really appreciate y'all coming in. I kind of went over time by about 15 minutes. I'm sorry about that, but we've just been having great conversation. So there was no reason to busting that up. But I do want to thank Otis for coming on, Dudley for coming on, and hopefully Arkansas does get their game in maybe. I'm going to I'm going to say it's probably going to be tomorrow. I really do, because the way that the weather's running, I just don't see it happening.
Arizona's kids are still on the high jump and pole vaulting mats. So
they were doing that when I was there. They were having them a blast in the Pattyson Center there. I get Pattyson Center, whatever it's called, in the track place. But yeah, they were taking full advantage of the big mat that's out there, the big pole vault deal and jumping. Yeah, they were taking full advantage of it. I think someone was even taking a nap on it, man. But yeah, they were taking full advantage of it.
Best version of a Tempur-Pedic, I swear. All right, well, y'all, thank you all for jumping on today. We may get baseball in, but I doubt it. But we'll have to just wait and see. And again, Otis, Dudley, thank you for jumping on. And this has been the Hogville.net YouTube Live Fayetteville Regional Show Special. And thank you all for joining.
Thanks for having me on here, man. See you later, Dudley, baby.
Go Cards.